You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Let's go. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 55 of the Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan Schwarting, live from New York City. And I've got everyone's favorite co-host, Kaan Bayazit. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Sinan. Thank you. You can hear the hype in Sinan's voice. He's really hyped for this. This is very much an impromptu episode. We were not planning to record today. I was hoping to record with you, Sinan, tomorrow, kind of to look back at the transfer window. You know, tomorrow, of course, as we are recording this on
The 30th.
Thursday, on Wednesday evening. Tomorrow it's Thursday, it's deadline day, and I have to be honest, I was not expecting major movement anymore when it comes to Beşiktaş. After hearing some of Şenol Güneş's quotes earlier in the day, but lo and behold, a huge bomb has just dropped. And Sinan, I'm going to let you do the honors. I'm going to let you break the news to everyone, because the only person who's probably happier about this move in particular than I am is probably you, Sinan.
Yeah. Folks, gather your close ones around, the speaker that you're listening to this with. Get everyone you love close. Give them a little hug. I've got great news. Shinji Kagawa has signed at the dotted line, or I probably should, to be more factually correct, is signing on the dotted line as we speak to join Beşiktaş on a loan with an option to buy. And I'm going to hand it over to Kaan to get into specifics, but I do want to highlight it's a very friendly offer. It's a very Beşiktaş friendly offer. But so everyone, round of applause to, I think, who was it? Was it Gunnar?
I'm not taking part in the praising one person politics that some journalists do to get in good with those particular people. So let's just say kudos to
the board,
whoever worked on the deal.
To whoever's in charge of getting things done. Because also it's been done fully under the radar. So Fener or even Galatasaray couldn't sneak in, or even Beşiktaş here these days, we maybe mentioned even that, aren't sneaking in and stealing our guy at the last minute. They really pulled this one off in quiet.
I do have to say, I had been told about 2 weeks ago by someone I trust, and someone who's given me news before and that's panned out more often than not, and he told me they are working on something big, but they're not revealing the name. But at the time, even though he has a good track record, it might not have even been 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. When did I record the episode with Can? Because I remember I was in this hazy mind setting of, everything is terrible and doom and gloom and all that. So I was like, yeah, right. I don't buy it. We're just gonna end this window, with basically on a flat note. That's what I was thinking. That's the mindset I was in. So
splurge in the last couple of days, right? Like I felt like in our group chat things had gotten quite doom and gloom. There was just a sour taste in everyone's mouths, because we all know that Galatasaray can't really afford these moves, but they're doing it and they're doing it again, and we know somehow they're not going to get in trouble for it, and they're going to win another title maybe or like challenge.
It's it's a feeling of injustice, I think, because you. And I don't want to get too much into this, but I think we're getting a little bit off topic here. But I think it did put, and I mean, I think it's a form of course, it's envy. I mean, when we were talking about Mbaye Diagne not so long ago, how he would be the ideal striker signing for anyone in the Turkish league, like Beşiktaş, Fenerbahçe, Galatasaray, he would be the ideal candidate because he's the perfect age. He's in the form of his life, all that. No major injury history, nothing like that. He's like the perfect signing, but financially, it's just not realistic. I think I even said that a couple of episodes ago. He isn't a realistic target for any Turkish club right now. And lo and behold,
I think you even said it would take at least 12 million euro. I think you even called the number somehow.
I think I said around 13, and I think it ended up being 12.8 that they ended up paying. It's ridiculous. This Galatasaray can't afford this. I spoke with John about it, a couple like last week or 2 weeks ago. Everyone who listens to this podcast probably listened to that episode, unless you're new because you're Japanese and you want to find out about Shinji Kagawa.
Yeah.
But anyone else probably listened to it, and these are black and white facts that John laid out one for one. Galatasaray are not in a position, neither are we, neither are Fenerbahce, but Galatasaray are not in a position to make this move, yet they do it anyway. Yeah. And for me, it's kind of a feeling like they're in a position where they're just gonna buy stuff. They're gonna build a team now, a really good team, to go into the next couple of years. Once that TFF deal is in place, they have no more wiggle room, they have no more movement space. But then they already have a really good team in place, which they can go off and win titles. And you know what? The Diagne deal is great for them financially in the terms of wages. He is only gonna earn like 2.3 million a year. It's fantastic for a top striker. That's fantastic. Obviously, he'll have to pan out. But the wages aren't going to put them in any trouble, in my opinion. It's the Mitrolo deal that's going to probably do that. But anyway, this is not.
Yeah, we're off topic. The good news though is that despite those moves, we actually did pull something out of the old stocking.
Yeah, the rabbit's hood, the rabbit out of the hood.
Yeah, exactly.
Rabbit
out of the hat. Yeah, right. Or a hood, whatever.
So let's get into these details now. So earlier this week, news came out. Shinji Kagawa on his way to Monaco earlier today. It seemed like that was done and dusted, but that deal did not go through. Shinji Kagawa did not join Monaco. That deal, of course, fell apart, and instead now he will be joining Beşiktaş on a 6-month loan, as Sinan had already alluded to, and Beşiktaş will have a buyout option as well for only, listen to this, 1.6 million euros. 1.6 million euros. At the start of this season, we were talking about Shinji Kagawa and how his fee would be like 6-7 million, and we were like, should we fork it out? Should we fork it out? And I think we were unanimously kind of in the spirit of just pay up. Now, only 6 months later, Beşiktaş have managed to strike this deal. Now, listen to the financials. Shinji Kagawa for the rest of the season, for the coming 5 to 6 months, 1.1 million euros. If this deal ends up being permanent, and I assume it's going to be an obligation to buy, not so much an option to buy, probably in a similar way that the Leitch deal is constructed. But if he stays permanently, 2.2 million euros. When we were talking about Shinji Kagawa at the beginning of the season, we were talking about 3.5-4 million a year. Now this is almost half of that. Well, this is almost half of that 4 million we were talking about earlier, just a couple months earlier. 2.2 million. It's a lot of money. I spoke with John about having to do Beşiktaş have to implement a transfer ceiling, a wage ceiling, a wage cap, and he said, yeah, we definitely should. And I think we both kind of ended up on a number of 1 million should be the cap, and maybe an exception at 1.5. So obviously 2.2 is still way above that. But I think it's still a great deal. I said it before with the Burak Yilmaz thing as well. I think 2.2 for a good striker is a good amount. Like I said just before, for Diagne 2.3 is a good amount. Still, Beşiktaş have been cleaning house. Lots of players have been going. A lot of the high wages have been going, and the club has been offloading. I did a calculation. We started the season at a roughly 45 million wage budget. Next summer, that's almost cut in half. Will be roughly around 27 million as it stands now. So that's almost 20 million less than at the start of the season. So that's also already pretty huge. Beşiktaş are making those moves to get financially a little bit more healthy. But I think you have to, if you want to be successful sportively, you're going to have to make some exceptions for some players. Shinji Kagawa is turning 30 years old. He is not a long-term player in the sense of 5-6 years, but 2 to 3, definitely. I think you can still build around him. You can build around him and Laiç and Dorukhan and Oğuzhan, whatever. I think you can build a good team around these core players. So for me, I think financially, it's a great deal. Maybe not given the club's financial situation. That's always a difficult thing to judge, but just purely based for who is this player and what's his market value and all that kind of stuff, I think financially this is a great deal.
Yeah, and just to sort of slightly fact check you there, he is still 29 until sort of the middle of March. So, for most of this season, this initial loan, he'll actually be 29.
Yeah, I said he's turning 30s.
He's not quite yet. He's got a little. Once you reach 30, you don't want to rush the birthday.
The thing with a guy like Kagawa is he doesn't overly rely on his physicality. All, yeah. He's not a speedster or anything like that. He's a technical player, so he should age well. But of course, every human being is different. And some guys just completely, some peacocks lose their feathers really early. Others keep them for a very long time. But let's hope that Shinji Kagawa can be that special player for us. I loved him at the World Cup, and I've always liked Kagawa a lot. But at the World Cup, Japan at the World Cup, I just loved them as a team, and that's the kind of football I want to see Beşiktaş play. So I'm really hopeful that with the addition of Kagawa, we can maybe start evolving into that type of team for the coming years, and maybe win some championships with that. But we'll have to wait and see, of course, on that front. But I think this is huge news, which we just had to record for. And obviously, we'll be doing an in-depth episode on Shinji Kagawa. I've already reached out to Dan Orlowitz, a friend of mine who works in Japan, who is a football journalist in Japan, and I believe he works for the Tokyo Times, which is he just got I think it's the Tokyo Times. I might be off on the city name, but it's one of the biggest newspapers in Japan, I believe, and he works on their English version.
Nice.
Or even if it maybe. Yeah. So, but he used to work for a different company. Only just got that position, I think, at the beginning of the season. But I'm definitely looking forward to maybe have a chat with him. I'm gonna reach out to one of my contacts, Yoshi Kagawa. Yoshi Kagawa. Sorry. No, not Kagawa. Igawa. And I'm gonna see if he'll wanna do his contribution to a future episode. But what should we talk about, Sinan? I think financially it's a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's really any sort of negative feelings you could have about a deal for Kagawa should be dispelled. He's a big star player, he's going to command a huge salary. Apparently not. Okay, well, then he's going to command a huge transfer fee. Also apparently not. He's getting old. Do you really want to commit to a guy like that long term? We haven't. We've actually committed to him on a 6-month loan with the potential of him doing well, and we extended. It's just, I mean, everything about, and the extension is quite affordable. So it's actually, I said this earlier in the group chat, but I'm going to stand by it. As thrilled as I am to see that Kagawa's coming in, I'm not shocked by it. You know, we have a tendency of picking up players who have been on the block before for a few windows. So that's consistent with our ethos in general. What I am surprised by, even shocked, given everything of late, even in the last couple of days, what I'm incredibly shocked by is the sheer competence of our board. This is a phenomenal deal. There's, like I said, they've cut off every angle with which you could criticize it, and despite our financial position and all the troubles we're in, you can vouch for this move as a sensible one in almost every way. It's very impressive, actually.
And it's not even the case of, you know, maybe some people would say, well, why do you get Kagawa? You already have Laic. But we discussed this at the start of the season. Laic is just as good on the left as he is in the center. So this could just mean Laic moves up to the left and Kagawa moves into the center, and that replaces Ryan Babel.
And I don't care who you are, how negative you might be in general. If the prospect of a Kagawa, Laic, Dorkan connection in the midfield there isn't exciting you, then you should probably find another sport, or at the very least another team, because that's, I mean, I don't know what could be more exciting to contemplate, honestly, especially given how well Dorkan's played of late.
Well, remember at the start of the season, we were even when we were linked to both Kagawa and Laic, and we were both in favor of Kagawa because we're biased towards Japanese players. And I have to say, I have absolutely loved Laic as a player, so I am very happy with him.
How exciting is that we got both? That's
yeah, but we were talking about that, like, oh, it's probably not possible, but imagine if you got both. And
it
now
reminds
we
me
do.
of that little
crazy.
gif that goes around, you know, where it's that little girl who's like, "Why not both?" And then everyone picks her up and cheers. That's like seriously, like who could have even contemplated that when we were trying to pick between the one or the other? It's
Now,
ideal.
I do want to place a little asterisk though, Sinan, because we're saying, as we got him already, he's coming to Istanbul tomorrow, and by the time that this episode is out, he'll probably be in Istanbul. But he still has to undergo a medical. You never know. Might not pass the medical, so, you know, last minute hitches, it can happen. The paperwork couldn't be in on time, and we register him too late. You know, like Galatasaray did a couple years ago with Grosskreuz. So,
And then they never even followed
everything
up.
is.
Wow. And for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Let's like, not everyone knock on wood collectively, like, do your little whatever you do to be what's the word I'm looking for? Superstitious, you know. You have the dirty socks you wear for matches. Put them on tonight. Whatever it is, that's gross. I mean, honestly, grow up and stop wearing dirty socks. But
now, just one more thing I would like to point out, though, because you complimented the board on their sheer competence. Now, I don't want to knock them. I don't want to compliment them. I just want to put this out there. Now, maybe it's just a case of Monaco deal didn't go through and we are his last option, and he's already been sitting on his butt for 6 months. He didn't want to sit on his butt for another 6 months. We've consistently gone after him. We've consistently shown him we want you. And maybe he just
for a come to Beşiktaş campaign.
Maybe he just at this point was like, you know, sod it, I'm just gonna go for it. And maybe it's just we got lucky. That's possible. But like I said, I did get told a while back that there is something big brewing, and that's a name you're keeping secret. Now,
hey, well, you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket, Kaan. That's like a recurring saying on the show.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's keep things moving, because there's actually a bit of stuff to talk about today, which when we were like we were just like, we're gonna do a Kagawa thing, and then as we started talking about it pre-episode, we realized there's actually a bit of news. So let's do it. All right. So out with the old, in with the new. And so speaking of out with the old, of course, there's some official news as far as outgoing transfers and actually some money coming into the coffers. Yep. Interestingly, more money coming into the coffers than we're putting out, or than we're spending, I should say, as a normal human being, on Shinji Kagawa. And
Yep.
that is 3 million and change that we're getting in exchange for Tolgay Arslan, who's officially out of here and going to Fenerbahce. And in addition, the rumors that we are going to be exchanging him for another player in cash are not true. We are not getting Şener Özbayraklı. We are simply getting money. More money, I suppose, than we would have otherwise. So,
Mo money,
less problems, hopefully. Kaan, give us some details there.
So the numbers are not yet confirmed. Haber 1903 had it at 3, but I've seen multiple sources report 3.2.
Yeah.
We had an exclusive yesterday, and we were also told 3.2 there. So let's put it on somewhere between 3 and 3.2 million euros for Tolgay Arslan. Now, just to be clear, Şener Özbayraklı was initially part of the deal, but Beşiktaş could not come to terms with Şener on a wage, which, you know, I have to say, I was a proponent of Şener. I know you probably weren't, Sinan, and I know a lot of people probably weren't because he hasn't been all that good at Fenerbahce. But it's a player that I've always liked when he plays on the pitch. Okay, he's had some unfortunate performances for Fenerbahce in the last 18 months or so. But I always kind of saw him as maybe the next Gökhan Gönül. When he was at Bursa, when Fenerbahce initially signed him, I thought he was the natural successor for Gökhan. And I was definitely a proponent of getting him, not so much as a starter, but I thought he was going to be a good squad depth player for us on a not too high wage. Now, he was, I believe, on 1.5 million a year at Fenerbahce, which is a lot, but I knew that Beşiktaş would not offer him that because he's got only 6 months left on his contract. I knew we were going to offer him somewhere between 900,000 and 1.2 million or something like that. Now, the lower end of that 900k, that would have been perfect in my opinion for a squad depth player. But unfortunately, or maybe not, Şener snubbed us. He said, no, I want to retain my wages that I have currently at Fenerbahce, which is, I believe, 1.5, might be higher, because he started at 1.5, so he might be up to 1.7 or 1.8 right now. I don't know. But come on, Şener, be realistic, dude. 6 months left on your contract. Who is going to match that wage? Fenerbahce are not extending your contract for that money. They're probably not extending your contract at all. Now, the only option he has is if Galatasaray are stupid enough to pay him 1.6, 1.5, 1.7 a year and sign him on a free in June. But okay, if they want to do that, by all means, guys, spend that money. But if Galatasaray don't pick him up, which club is going to pick him up? Any Anatolian team are not going to pay him any more than 800,000 a year, and that's on the high end of what he could get there. Trabzonspor aren't going to pay him 1.5 a year either. So to me, this is a little bit boneheaded from Şener's perspective, but it's good for Beşiktaş because instead of getting 2.5 million, we're getting almost we're getting almost 3.5 now. Tolgay also left some wages on the table, somewhere between 300 and 400,000 euros. So all in all, the total amount of money earned on this transfer for Beşiktaş is roughly 3.5 million. Adding on top of that, Tolgay had signed a contract extension not too long ago, a contract which would have kept him at the club until 2022, and in this new contract he was earning 2.2 million euros a year. Now, Sinan, who else is going to get 2.2 million euros a year?
Someone a lot better, Kaan. Someone a lot better. That's all that needs to be said.
So basically,
an international star, Kaan.
So when Sinan said out with the old, in with the new, I say good riddance to Tolgay Arslan. He's a player that on his day I always thought was an amazing footballer. Unfortunately, his day only came around once or twice a year. He's not been consistent. Look, he might go to Fenerbahce and he might do great things there. Great for them if he does. If he finds it in himself to finally get off his ass and start performing consistently, they've got a great player on their hands. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. If he does that, he's a fantastic player. However, I don't really believe in the fact that he would be that player if he would have stayed at us. No. I don't see it happening. He's been at the club for, 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, he had a really nasty injury somewhere at the start of there.
This is
But
his
he's
fourth,
never been
actually,
consistent. He's never been consistent for us. We've heckled him on this podcast countless times. This is not an opinion we're forming right now just because he joined the rival.
right.
No, this is a consistent opinion that both Sinan and I share. So, I'm happy with this guy being off the wage bill. I'm happy with him being gone. I wish him all the best in his future endeavors.
And
of course, I don't.
While you
know,
mention
but-
his salary being the same as a
Mhm.
Mr. Tolgay Arslan, people might sort of. I've noticed people underestimate his age. He's already 28.
Yeah, they do.
I think a lot of people think he's still 26 or something, like as if he's still got room to develop. That
You think he's a young player?
and
But he's not.
He's literally a year younger than Shinji Kagawa, making the same amount.
Yeah.
Ugh, I can't even talk about how much of an upgrade that is. It's like glaringly obvious.
Obviously, they're different positions.
Yeah.
I mean, Kagawa is more attacking than Tolgay is. But I think, if you have room in the wage bill for a 2.2 million player, and you have the choice of it being Shinji Kagawa or Tolgay Arslan, I think it's a no-brainer. You pick Tolgay.
Yeah, really? Do you?
You pick Kagawa. That's my subconscious betraying
What
me
have you
there.
done?
No, it's definitely gonna be Kagawa for me.
But so let's move on.
like I said.
Let's gracefully move on. While we're on the subject of outgoing transfers, there's another one which has not come to fruition, at least yet. But it's like I have to say it's looking a lot less likely. Senor Quaresma, Ricardo Quaresma.
I think it's looking very likely. Are you saying it's looking less likely that he'll leave?
Yeah,
Or?
I would say.
Oh.
You don't think so?
I think he's gone.
You think he's gone?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't rule it out, but I think that he's gone.
I mean, it's
Probably. 'Cause
at this point, it's in everyone's best interest. You'd assume, but
yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's difficult it's a difficult one. I think that there's this once. I spoke about this earlier in the season with the whole Ryan Babel thing, where I had this. Remember my theory that they were putting stuff out there deliberately so fans would turn against him and don't feel bad when he leaves. I can't help but feel something like that's going on again. And of course, Quaresma plays into that with his ridiculously stupid red cards.
yeah, poorly timed.
I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you, and please finish your what you were gonna say before I rudely interrupted.
Well, no, yeah, that was it. Actually, it was just supposedly. Initially, there was talk about how his wife wanted to leave Turkey and go back to Portugal, and then today, Şenol Güneş in a press conference, I think. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of quotes that came from him today, so I can only assume it was a press conference. Which, by the way, those press conferences are now going to have double the amount of beat reporters because there's going to be literally the amount that exists now will be met, if not exceeded, by the amount of Japanese reporters that will now be following the team around. So get ready for that, club. I hope you can accommodate them all conveniently. But yeah, in that press conference, it was said that a totally new story, by the way, it was announced that it was more to do with his wages and that the club wanted to shed his. So now, does he have the biggest wages on the club now?
No, he does. He's earning 2.1 a year,
yeah,
the same as Ryan
crazy.
Babel was making. But I think Şenol kind of made the point of, because there were some talks about Serdar Aziz, who has in the meantime joined Fenerbahce as well. By the way, I always wanted to point that out as well. But Şenol made that example of they'd be willing to give Serdar 2 million, but then why do you push Ryan Babel and Quaresma out? So I think the narrative that I got from what Şenol was saying earlier is really that the club was kind of pushing him out for, and that it was definitely a financial dispute. I would like to put that feather on my cap, by the way. I think it was last week or so when this whole his wife is unhappy crap came out that I totally shot it down on Twitter. I said this does
Doesn't
not
add
make
up.
sense.
Khan the seer.
It does.
It's another one. You called.
I'm sorry.
You
No,
called
it's
Dianye's fee correctly, and now you're on a roll, man. And Kagawa, but you didn't see.
It's-
You should have spilled the beans, man.
I didn't know it was Kagawa.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know a name. I didn't know. So I'm not gonna act like I knew. I didn't. I was told.
Just someone big.
I was just told that the name is being kept secret, and I was told by a couple of people, by the way. But yeah, anyway, back to the topic. It just for me, the Quaresma thing, the story that was the narrative that was being pushed out there, just did not add up. It made no sense. You have to think about it. This guy has been living in Turkey off and on for about 6 years. His kids go to school
That's just
here.
that. His kids have grown up here for the most part, like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how old Ricky is. He must be like 6 or 7. I mean, he lived like 50% of his life. He lived
more,
here,
yeah.
and suddenly out of nowhere, suddenly his wife doesn't want to live in Turkey anymore and wants to move away. Come on, that doesn't add up. It's just no. Like, you don't have to be a seer to read that as bullshit.
Plus, the problems in Turkey right now are not political. I mean, of course, they are kind of political in nature, but really, like, what people are experiencing are financial problems. Now, this dude's getting paid in euros, but he's buying things locally with the lira that's going down markedly. He's probably living, like, they're living it up, you'd imagine, as far as what their money can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said on Twitter, my theory was that I did not dispute the fact that he wanted to leave, because I can perfectly see that, because there's been rumors of players not getting paid properly for months. And we remember the whole Pepe thing. There was this whole story of his father is sick, so he wanted to go back to Portugal. Now, I don't know if Pepe's dad even lives in Portugal. He's Brazilian.
That's so funny.
I mean, he plays for Portugal, but he's a Brazilian by birth. I don't know if his dad lives in Portugal or not, but I haven't heard anything since about his dad being sick. That was just something that was being put out there in the Turkish media. To me, it just none of it adds up.
Well, plus, I mean, Şenol Güneş really did kind of poo-poo on that whole construct. I don't know if that was an accident, if they didn't calibrate, the front office and manager, but whatever it was.
I think it was just Şenol venting. And the thing I have at this point with with how I feel about Şenol, it's kind of weird, because I'm at one side, when he's saying these types of things, I'm like, yeah, you tell him, Şenol, you air that dirty laundry. You've had to take enough crap. Just air it all. But then he goes and says other stuff where I'm like, oh my god, are you literally growing? Like, are you losing it? And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because for anyone who's had a family member like a grandma or a grandpa or whatever, that I have, my grandma, literally, I saw her deteriorate in front of my eyes over a couple of years' time. It went super quick. She was like crystal clear when she was 79, and by the time she was 82, she was completely demented and didn't recognize anyone anymore.
I mean, she had dementia. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Şenol Güneş is 65 years old, so that's not very likely, but I don't know. Sometimes I really question things when some of his decisions, some of the things he says. Like today, he comes out and he's like, it's too late to make transfers. I don't want any transfers anymore. Like,
I couldn't bring them into the team properly.
What are you talking about?
But the team is underperforming so much. How can you say that?
Yeah, and then he said, well, they sold Babel and Quaresma is going, and I think we were playing the style we were playing was good. Now we're going to have to change.
And then we don't need players. Like what?
What is he talking about? I mean, the style that we've been playing for the last 1.5 years has not been working, and he says it was good. It's like, yeah. Anyway.
Okay, let's move on. And while we're on the subject of his press conference, another thing he said, and I'm going to throw this in there as one of the things I don't like, is that Orkan is not coming back. Orkan Çınar is not coming back. He's simply not good enough. Now, our source, our scout, the podcast, Emrah, who's actually been on the show, he came out and said fairly explicitly that it's almost impossible to judge how Orkan Çınar has been playing because his team, Adana Demirspor, has been so bad that you can't really look at anyone's. It's almost like, in a lot of ways, when we were struggling with our podcast, when Beşiktaş was in such poor form, because what do you talk about when it's the same thing every week, right? And I think that's like that times 10, perhaps, with Adana Demir.
But I do want to point out, though, I mean, we've been playing some poor football, but cream always rises to the top, though. You see that with Dorukhan. You see that even with Laic. I mean, we haven't seen the best Laic, I think, but you can see that he is a special player. And I think we see it with Dorukhan, too. So I do have to say, I've spoken to Emre about this over the past couple of weeks, months. Like, how's Orkan doing? And at no point did I have the impression that he was that he was impressed with him. And he watches all the Adana Demirspor fans because he is from Adana. So, for me, it's kind of like, if you can't really stand out at Adana Demirspor, then how do you expect to, earn a place in the first team with Beşiktaş?
Yeah.
So I kind of follow Şenol Güneş's logic there. I think the thing he said was he isn't good enough right now. He needs to improve. I don't think that's necessarily saying he'll never be good enough. I think that's clearly keeping the door open for him to come into the team later in his career, but he just has to go on a loan spell and do really well and develop. And I think he needs to grab these types of opportunities like Adana Demirspor. And it's unfortunate for him that, of course, they're not in a great position and they're not playing great.
And
but
maybe that his
he just needs to make the best of it.
Aired so publicly, perhaps. But
yeah, I think that some of the things that, like I said, like some of the stuff that Channel Guest says is. He shouldn't be saying stuff like that. Like, for example, he had this statement about... he was asked about Muhayir Oktay, and he asked what type of player is he, how do you like it? And he said, well, he's a really great talent. He's very similar to Adem and Oğuzhan, but he probably won't be playing a lot because he's just not at that level yet. But then he said something about Dorukhan being a very simplistic player, but he plays great or something like that. But the translation that I'm making is a little bit rough. It could be interpreted a little bit more degrading when you read it in Turkish. So I know that Şenol has a very specific and special way with words, but a lot of native Turkish speakers that read that quote were like, what is he saying about Dorukhan? How dare he? And they were completely baffled by the statements. Even though
another thing you didn't mention is that he said basically about Muhayir that he's kind of redundant because of Adem Ljajic and Ozan, and that a player of his ability, if he was a stopper, would probably be having more time in the starting 11. Yeah. Which, okay, fine, yeah, we have more of a need in the back, but how can Ozan has been a ghost and has not even earned he hasn't even come in as a sub in some games. It's hard for me to imagine how you could claim that there's a redundancy in a position that we clearly have a need in. So I didn't get that at all. A little bit, maybe. I think slightly senile. I think it's just more of a. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think he did say in the first 11. So I think that his point was more like, look, Muhayir isn't going to be a starting player right now.
Fair enough, but still, it seems to say that he's a redundancy because of Ozan. He doesn't seem to think Ozan's good enough for the starting 11 either, Which, I mean, maybe I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, but I think that's form-based. I don't think he think. We're reading a lot into this right now, but I don't think he thinks Ozan isn't good enough. I think he thinks Ozan is just not in a good form, which is the case. But I think with Muhayir, I would interpret that quite positively, actually. What he said, that does make me a little hopeful for the kid's future at the club. I think it's I interpreted that in a positive way, but it's so difficult with these quotes sometimes. You don't hear the inflections and all that kind of stuff. So, it's a little difficult, of course.
Well, so let's move on to our last point in this short little, not so short episode. And it's a rumor. It's a rumor with some backing, fairly concrete rumor, although I would imagine it has a lot to do with the future of Quaresma with this club. And with that being perhaps more in doubt, we'll see. But supposedly we have a young man in the form of Ingie, who's coming from Marseille, I believe, right?
Yeah, Clinton Ingie. Yeah.
Clinton Ingie. Yeah, I forgot his first name. I shouldn't have. It's a fairly memorable one, actually. Clinton Ingie was rumored for the last week, and those rumors got more and more concrete as the week progressed.
Yeah.
But now perhaps they've stalled because things with Quaresma have stalled, or I don't know. He's 25, so not a bad age, but he hasn't really stood out. I haven't heard a lot of positive comments about him in my light research.
Yeah, it comes across like he's kind of, and I think Özcan Oğur, of course, has been on the podcast before. I think he kind of phrased it as such as he's Marseille's Pictimic, in the sense of he's the player that all of their fans want to be gone. So the Pictimic of the previous couple of seasons, because I think a lot of fans have kind of sweetened on Mustafa
come
the
around
last couple of months. Yeah, and just the thing with Mustafa is he's not a bad player. Just he makes way too much money. I think if he was making half of what he's making, everyone would love him.
Too many injuries, perhaps. I think every time he's gotten a little momentum, he's been messed up by something.
Sure. Although he's not had a serious injury in a couple of years now, so he does seem to get injured quite often. But anyway, it's not a Mustafa Pictimic episode.
Yeah, and he hasn't played much though in that time, at least not with us. So. But anyway, let's not over-focus on that. But so Clinton Ingie, basically, all we can really say about him at this stage is that if news about Quaresma starts to trickle in, that he's in fact leaving, you can probably anticipate a move for him, for Ingie. Although, again, like Chanel Gunesh has said directly, he doesn't really want new guys in. Although, that was right before we got news about Shinji Kagawa, so I don't know what we're supposed to believe at this point.
Generally reliable, this reporter is generally reliable and has been on the money this window. Ertan Süzgün, he said that Kagawa is the last thing Beşiktaş are going to do on the market. That's it for Beşiktaş. So it's very well possible that we're not doing anything anymore. Now, I was told that there might still be a surprise coming. I don't know if that has now changed with the Kagawa transfer or not. So we might still get a surprise tomorrow. It's a name that was already mentioned in the past couple of weeks. But I can't reveal it. But I don't think the NJ thing will happen, but it might. I don't know.
Probably a right back. I'm going to go with Karsdorp.
No. Please don't get say. Don't make me say
fair
it.
enough.
Anyway, this was, by the way, Emrah who told me this. I don't want to betray his confidence because he was asked not to tell.
Fair enough.
But he was right about Tolgay. So anyway, what was I doing? What was I talking about? Maybe spilled too much beans.
No, it's all right. It's all right. No, we didn't. We didn't say anything. But so Ingie is probably not happening. It sounds like
it's not Ingie. That I'll tell you. I'll say that much. It's so if it happens, it's probably related to a certain agent that's been in the news as well, linked with Beşiktaş in the last couple of weeks. Former basketball player.
Whoa,
but anyway,
okay, now you're going too far, Kaan. Okay,
maybe cut that out.
no, it's all right. I think that's tantalizing enough. But let's take it out.
Yeah.
Let's take us out, Kaan, because we're going to have another episode very soon. And again, I'll preview this coming match. It's Monday against Antalyaspor in Antalya. 11 a.m. here,
Difficult
so I believe that's a 5 p.m. match there.
No Burak Yilmaz, maybe Shinji Kagawa. I mean, he'll have his license by then, because he'll have to be issued it tomorrow. So is Şenol Güneş gonna start Shinji Kagawa in his first match? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love if he did, we know Şenol's track record.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a lot of other options.
No, I mean, I really hope he does.
I hope so too.
And he might not have a choice.
Kagawa, Lens.
Could be our saving grace. Oh my God!
Kagawa, Lens, and Juven up top.
We have Kagawa.
It's probably going to be an hour.
Take us out, Kaan. So
okay.
We'll see you guys
that's
after the match on Monday, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and see to do a Kagawa episode really soon. I'm gonna try and schedule it somewhere to get it out as quick as possible. We'll see when that comes out. But yeah, I think the next one will be on Monday. Hopefully after a win. We need those 3 points. But for us for today, that's gonna be it. Lots of exciting news. People, please drop us a like, drop us a follow, drop the podcast account a follow on Twitter, Eagles_podcast, and more importantly, give us a review on iTunes, on whatever platform you're listening to that enables the possibility of giving reviews. Please drop us a 5-star review on iTunes, especially. Would help us out a lot.
Japanese friends? Tell them about the podcast.
Yeah. Tell them about the podcast. Tell them about Shinji Kagawa. This could be Beşiktaş's opportunity to make inroads in Japan. So this is really huge, people. Don't underestimate it. But yeah, I don't know what else I have to say. Follow Sinan. Follow myself. Follow Beşiktaş International at Beşiktaş_int. Follow Sinan at Sir_writes_a lot. And follow me at Razarian, RAZZERIAN. All of those handles will also be in the podcast description. So that's it for me for today. Sinan, take us out.
Just one real quick asterisk there. Actually, the match against Antalyaspor is on Sunday at 11 a.m. here, 5 p.m. there. So I just wanted to make sure people didn't miss the game because of me. But with that said, of course, and today, I mean, I guess really the same as every other day. Go Beşiktaş! All right.
And go Shinji Kagawa.
Go Shinji Kagawa. Man. Get on an airplane, Shinji. Come to Beşiktaş. That's not a question anymore. That's a literal directive. Come. Get on the plane.
Come to Beşiktaş! !
Like soon that I can get an image of you coming for the podcast. I don't know if you guys see those nice little things I made. Anything. Alright. Peace out, man. Yeah, man.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.